The Meditations of Emperor Marcus Aurelius, Antoninus. Book 4. When the governing part is in its natural state, it can easily change and adapt itself to whatever occurs as the matter of its exercise. It is not fondly set upon any one sort of action. It goes about what seems preferable, with a proper reservation, and if anything contrary be cast in, makes this also the matter of its proper exercise. As a fire, when it masters the things which fall on it, though they would have extinguished a small lamp, the bright fire quickly assimilates to itself and consumes what is thrown into it, and even thence increases its own strength. Let nothing be done at random, but according to the complete rules of art. They seek retirements in the country, on the sea-coasts or mountains. You too used to be fond of such things. But this is all from ignorance. A man may any hour he pleases retire into himself, and nowhere will he find a place of more quiet and leisure than in his own soul, especially if he has that furniture within, the view of which immediately gives him the fullest tranquillity. By tranquillity I mean the most graceful order. Allow yourself continually this retirement, and refresh and renew yourself. Have also at hand some short elementary maxims, which may readily occur and suffice to wash away all trouble, and send you back without fretting at any of the affairs to which you return. What vice of mankind can you be chagrined with when you recollect the maxim that all rational beings were formed for each other, and that bearing with them is a branch of justice, and that all mistakes and errors are involuntary, and how many of those who lived in enmity, suspicion, hatred, and quarrels have been stretched on their funeral piles and turned to ashes? Cease then from such passions. Will you fret at that distribution which comes from the whole, when you renew in your remembrance that disjunctive maxim, either it is Providence which disposes of all things, or atoms? Or recollect how many have proved the universe to be a regular state, under one polity? Or will you be touched with what regards your body, when you consider that the intellectual or governing part, when it once recovers itself and knows its own power, is not concerned in the impressions made on the animal soul, whether grateful or harsh? Recall too all you have heard and assented to about pleasure and pain. Or shall the little affair of character and glory disturb you, when you reflect how all things shall be involved in oblivion, and the vast immensity of eternal duration on both sides, how empty the noisy echo of applauses, how fickle and injudicious the applauders, how narrow the bounds within which our praise is confined, the earth itself but as a point in the universe, and how small a corner of it the part inhabited, and even there how few are they, and of how little worth, who are to praise us. For the future, then, remember to retire into this little part of yourself. Above all things, keep yourself from distraction and intense desires. Retain your freedom. Consider everything as a man of courage, as a man, as a citizen, as a mortal. Have these two thoughts ever the readiest in all emergencies. One, that the things themselves reach not to the soul, but stand without, still and motionless. All your perturbation comes from inward opinions about them. The other, that all these things presently change and shall be no more. Frequently recollect what changes thou hast observed. The world is a continual change. Life is opinion. The intellectual part is the same to all rationals, and therefore that reason also whence we are called rational is common to all. If so, then that commanding power which shows what should be done or not done is common. If so, we have all a common law. If so, we are all fellow citizens, and if so, we have a common city. The universe then must be that city, for of what other common city are all men citizens? Hence, therefore, even from this common city we derive our intellectual power, our reason, our law, as my earthly part is derived to me from some common earth, my moisture from some common element of that kind, my aerial part from its proper fountain, and the warm or fiery part from its proper fountain too. For nothing can arise from nothing, or return into it. Our intellectual part hath also come from some common fountain of its own nature. Death is, like our birth, a mystery of nature. The one a commixture of elements, the other a resolution into them. In neither is there anything shameful or unsuitable to the intellectual nature, or contrary to the intention of its structure. From such men, such actions must naturally and necessarily proceed. He who would have it otherwise may as reasonably expect figs should be without juice. This too you should always remember, that in a very short time both you and he must die, and a little after not even the name of either shall remain. Take away opinion, and you have removed the complaint. I am hurt. Remove I am hurt, and you remove the harm. What makes not a man worse than he was, makes not his life worse, nor hurts him either without or within. 'Tis for some advantage in the whole that nature acts in this manner. If you attend well, you will find that whatever happens, happens justly. I don't mean only in an exact order and destined connection, but also according to justice, and from one who distributes according to merit. Go on in observing this, as you have begun, and whatever you do, do it so as you may still remain good, according to the intellectual and true notion of goodness. Observe this in all your actions. Don't entertain such opinions as the man who affronts you has, or wishes you to entertain, but look into these things as they truly are. You should always have these two rules in readiness. One, to act only that which the reason of the royal and legislative faculty suggests for the interests of mankind. The other, to be ready to change your conduct when anyone present can rectify you and make you quit any of your opinions. But let this change be always made upon some probable species of justice, or public utility, or such like, and not any view of pleasure or glory to yourself. Have you reason? I have. Why don't you use it? When it performs its proper office, what more do you require? You have arisen as a part in the universe. You shall disappear again, returning into your source, or rather by a change shall be resumed again into that productive intelligence from whence you came. Many pieces of frankincense are laid on the altar. One falls, then another, and there's no difference whether sooner or later. Within 10 days you'll appear a god to them, who now repute you a wild beast or an ape, if you turn to observe the moral maxims and to reverence your intellectual part. Don't form designs as if you were to live 1,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while you may, become good. What agreeable leisure does he procure to himself, who takes no notice what others say, do, or intend, but attends to this only, that his own actions be just and holy, and according to Agathon, that there be nothing black or ill-natured in his temper? He ought not to be looking around, but running on the straight line without turning aside. The man who is solicitous about a surviving fame considers not that each one of those who remember him must soon die himself, and so must his successor a little after him, till at last this remembrance be extinguished, which is handed down through a series of stupid, perishing admirers. Grant your memory were immortal, and these immortal who retain it. Yet what is that to thee? Not to say what is that to the dead, but what is it to the living, except for some further view? In the meantime you unseasonably quit what nature hath put in your power, by grasping at something else dependent on another. Whatever is beautiful or honorable is so from itself, and its excellence rests in itself. Its being praised is no part of its excellence. It is neither made better nor worse by being praised. This holds too in lower beauties, called so by the vulgar, in material forms and works of art. What is truly beautiful and honorable needs not anything further than its own nature to make it so. Thus the law, truth, benevolence, a sense of honor, are any of these made good by being praised? Or would they become bad if they were censured? Is an emerald made worse than it was if it is not praised? Or is gold, ivory, purple, a dagger, a flower, a shrub, made worse on this account? If the animal souls remain after death, how hath the ether contained them from eternity? How doth the earth contain so many bodies buried during so long a time? As in this case the bodies, after remaining a while in the earth, are dissipated and changed, to make room for other bodies, so the animal souls removed to the air after they have remained for some time, are changed, diffused, rekindled, and resumed into the original productive spirit, and give place to others in like manner to cohabit with them. This may be answered upon supposition that the souls survive their bodies. We may consider, beside the human bodies which are buried, the bodies of so many beasts which we and other animals feed on. What a multitude of them is thus consumed and buried in the bodies of those who feed on them, and yet the same places still afford room, by the changes into blood, air, and fire. The true account of all these things is by distinguishing between the material and the active or efficient principle. Don't suffer the mind to wander. Keep justice in view in every design, and in all imaginations which may arise, preserve the judging faculty safe. Whatever is agreeable to thee shall be agreeable to me, O graceful universe. Nothing shall be to me too early or too late, which is seasonable to thee. Whatever thy seasons bear shall be joyful fruits to me, O nature. From thee are all things, in thee they subsist, to thee they return. Could one say, thou dearly beloved city of Cecrops, and wilt thou not say, thou dearly beloved city of God? Mind few things, said one, if you would preserve tranquillity. He might rather have said, mind only what is necessary, and what the reason of the creature formed for social life and public good recommends, and in the way it directs. And this will not only secure the tranquility arising from virtuous action, but that also which arises from having few things to mind. Would we cut off the most part of what we say and do as unnecessary, we should have much leisure and freedom from trouble. We should suggest to ourselves on every occasion this question, is this necessary? But we ought to quit not only unnecessary actions, but even imaginations, and thus superfluous actions, diverting us from our purpose, would not ensue. Make trial how the life of a good man would succeed with you, of one who is pleased with the lot appointed him by Providence, and satisfied with the justice of his own actions, and the benevolence of his dispositions. You have seen the other's state. Try also this. Don't perplex yourself. Has any man sinned or offended? The hurt is to himself. Hath anything succeeded with you honorably? Whatever befalls you was ordained for you by the providence of the whole, and spun out to you by the destinies. To sum up all, life is short. You must make the best use of the present time by a true estimation of things and by justice, and retain sobriety in all relaxations. Either there is an orderly, well-disposed universe, or a mixture of parts cast together without design, which yet make an orderly composition. Or can there subsist in thee a regular structure, and yet no regular constitution be in the universe? And that when we see such very different natures blended together with conspiring harmony? Consider the deformity of these characters, the black or malicious, the effeminate, the savage, the beastly, the childish, the foolish, the crafty, the buffoonish, the faithless, the tyrannical. He is a foreigner, and not a citizen of the world, who knows not what is in it, and he too who knows not what ordinarily happens in it. He is a deserter, who flies from the governing reason in this polity. He is blind, whose intellectual eye is closed. He is the beggar, who always needs something from others, and has not from himself all that is necessary for life. He is an abscess of the world, who withdraws or separates himself from the reason which presides in the whole, by repining at what befalls. That same nature produces this event which produced thee. He is a seditious citizen, who separates his private soul from that one common soul of which all rational natures are parts. One acts the philosopher without a coat, and another without any books, and a third half naked. Says one, I have not bread, and yet I adhere to reason. Says another, I have not even the spiritual food of instruction, and yet I adhere to it.